Good morning, citizens of Detroit. Good morning, citizens of Wayne County. This is your boy, the Wood Dog, and this is my segment, Just Keeping It Real. As you can see, I just keep it real because keeping it real is the only thing that I know how to do. I'm here today to give you a Just Keeping It Real segment with the fist. And I'm responding today. I'm just going to get right into it. I'm responding today on the current Wayne County Sheriff Rafael Washington. The reason why I'm responding today is that, as you all know, per Channel 2, Channel 4, and Channel 7, Wayne County Sheriff Rafael Washington and the County of Wayne, because of Sheriff Rafael Washington, is being sued for sexual harassment by Miss Regina Parks. And he's been deposed by the Gordon Law Firm, okay? And they're not holding no bars on this guy. This is his probably the second or third sexual harassment lawsuit for the same thing. It's the same thing that was with Rafael Washington 15 years ago when he was with the Detroit Police Department with the same allegations. And how soon we forget. There's been 2 elections. Out County, Wayne County wasn't feeling Rafael Washington, but the city of Detroit seems to get him over the hump to get him elected. But how soon we forget about who this man really is. You go on my Facebook page under my real name, I don't hide, Frank Wood. And you'll see numerous disturbing things and read certain disturbing things on the current sheriff, Rafael Washington. Okay? He said just the other day on a podcast, Detroit in Black and White, the host is Adolph Mongo. One of the other hosts is esteemed attorney Vanessa Moss, and the esteemed and respected former police chief of the city of Trenton, Jim Nardone. And during the podcast, there's a chat box. People are typing in questions and stuff like that. But during the podcast, he saw some of the things that I was writing and confronting him on. So he interrupted the entire podcast to address me, telling people on the podcast that I was the worst person on the sheriff's department. I left the sheriff's department. I had the worst disciplinary record of a person on the sheriff's department and all that good stuff. But I tell you what, everything negative that he said about me, as it pertains to the sheriff's department, I can go anywhere to any retirement function, any Wayne County sheriff's function, and I see people that I've worked with for over 30 years prior to his arrival to the sheriff's department, with former deceased sheriff being Napoleon, and I'm respected. Because when I was working, people knew that I showed up and backed them up when they needed to. There's people that wouldn't even be alive if it wasn't for me out there on these streets. You know, I wasn't just a deputy that worked in the courts and the jails. I was out on the street for a number of years, saving lives, slowing down speeders in traffic, confiscating drugs, guns, and wanted individuals for heinous crimes, things that Sheriff Rafael Washington never done. He's never owned anything, never earned anything. His sergeant and lieutenant's promotions with the city of Detroit were status appointments, you know, meaning that you just put in for it instead of taking a civil service test to get those promotions. But let me go back to what he said about me leaving the sheriff's department. I didn't leave the sheriff's department. I retired with over 30 years. That's what you receive when you retire for over 30 years of service. So that's my proof right there. I didn't leave, I retired right here. Now, what is most concerning with Sheriff Rafael Washington is his lawsuit history, his sexual harassment history that's documented. This is the lawsuit that I have in my possession from the Gordon Law Firm. Gordon Law, her P number is P27058. I also have in my possession the lawsuit depositions from Rafael Washington's former chief of staff, Mike Turner, and I also have the deposition that Rafael Washington took with the Gordon Law Firm, because he was deposed in this lawsuit. I'm not going to go deep and read all these lawsuits line by line to take up too much of your time, but I will say this. I read each deposition line by line, and there is no way that Rafael Washington can say with a straight face that he did not do what the allegations in these lawsuits say he did. There is no way that he could talk his way out of it. I don't see this situation being settled. I see this situation going to a trial in front of a jury with the citizens of Wayne County like it needs to. You know, sometimes settlements don't do a victim all the justice that they deserve, you know. And I find it kind of highly suspicious. Actually, it's not helping him any to be talking about an ongoing sexual harassment lawsuit on a podcast. I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard and seen in my life, in my over 30 years in law enforcement before I retired. But the common denominator in all the depositions is that the questions that were asked of his former chief of staff, Mike Turner, who was the chief of staff for the respected former now deceased Sheriff Rafael Washington. Now listen to what I'm saying. Mike Turner was Benny Napoleon's closest confidant. He was well respected. Now, how does Rafael Washington keep Mike Turner as his chief of staff once Benny Napoleon died? Why? Because Mike Turner was an honorable man. He was able to work with the unions and keep Rafael Washington out of trouble the best he could. But when the lawsuit came down from Regina Parks on how Rafael Washington, according to the allegations in this lawsuit, that he was harassing her, touching her under her clothes, her buttocks, her breast, that's indicated in this lawsuit. It's not me talking, it's the allegations in this lawsuit. That should have been in a criminal court first before it went civil. Because if any one of us, including myself, put our hands on a woman unwantingly, we would be charged with criminal sexual conduct first in the criminal setting, okay? But let me get back to the thing, and then I'm gonna close this, because I want you to think about this very seriously. Why did Sheriff Rafael Washington dismiss his chief of staff, Mike Turner? I'm gonna tell you why, according to the lawsuit information that the deposition that Regina Parks gave and the deposition that Mike Turner gave. Mike Turner, according to the lawsuit deposition, had relations with Miss Regina Parks. It was consensual. Hey, two grown people doing what grown people do. No harm, no foul. A fair exchange is not robbery, if you want to call it that. But somehow, Rafael Washington became aware that Mike Turner used to be involved with Miss Parks, and he wanted his bite at the apple. That's why when the lawsuit first came out, the allegations against Rafael Washington in this particular complaint was saying that Rafael Washington told Miss Parks, you have to share the love. We didn't know what that meant until after Mike Turner's deposition that I read, and the deposition of Miss Parks, that obviously Rafael Washington became aware that Mike Turner used to be involved with Miss Parks. So he was jealous of that. He wanted his bite at the apple. He figured, well, Mike Turner is my man. That's my chief of staff. But since Miss Regina Parks filed a lawsuit because she was ultimately dismissed, in my opinion, just an opinion, that he could not get his bite at the apple. And according to the lawsuit, Rafael Washington was showing her pornographic material on his cell phone, according to this lawsuit. And he was upset that he couldn't get the bite at the apple. Her deposition was saying that she was demoted to a cubicle position that ultimately terminated. And she was relieved of her job. Now she can't provide for her family, do what she needs to do. The lawsuit comes down. It looked like Mike Turner was trying to help Miss Parks, but at the same time trying to cover for Rafael Washington. So Rafael Washington unappoints Mike Turner as his chief of staff and hires another person to assume his duties. So that's why Mike Turner was let go, because we didn't understand why Mike Turner was let go, because Mike Turner was a threat, in my opinion. It's my opinion, it's only an opinion, that Mike Turner was in the way. And he still didn't get what he wanted from Miss Parks. And just because you don't get what you want don't mean that you fire somebody, which is what he did, because Mike Turner didn't have the authority to fire Miss Parks, but Rafael Washington did. And that's what he did, because she's not working. So for Rafael Washington to say on a podcast that I was the worst person in the sheriff's, you know why he says that about me, the wood dog, and just keeping it real? Because I'm going to tell you the truth. He doesn't like the fact that ever since I retired in 2022, I have not backed off of exposing him to the public. Ross Jones from Channel 7 has not backed off from dogging him out with the truth and sexual harassment lawsuits. Former Wayne County Sheriff's President Reginald Crawford has not backed off on Rafael Washington. We're going to keep informing the public on what's going on. Now, in closing, I'm going to say this. I don't care what Rafael Washington says about me. I retired from the Sheriff's Department. I received my retirement credentials and my service weapon. I'm done with the Sheriff's Department. I'm now receiving my retirement benefits and haven't worked a day since. So I have no dog in the fight with Washington other than him being a substandard sheriff that he shouldn't be in office. Okay, that's first and foremost. So, and for him to say that he's not scared or something, you know, I've heard people all the time say, I ain't scared, I ain't scared. Well, guess what? You ain't got to be scared to get your butt whooped. You can stand fast, and that way they ain't got to chase it around to kick it. But I'm not here fighting with Rafael Washington. I don't want to fight with Rafael Washington. His fight is with the Gordon Law Firm in the courts. That's where his fight is. And as far as him saying that I should address him, I will meet you anywhere in this county, Mr. Rafael Washington. I'll meet you anywhere. And it won't be a quiet conversation. It's going to be loud, so know that. You know, if you want to meet with me somewhere, leave your bodyguards at home, okay? I'll come alone, because you talking about you ain't scared. I'm not afraid, because I'm not a fighter. I'm a warrior. There's a big difference between a fighter and a warrior. And if you don't know the difference, then you shouldn't be talking about you ain't scared of stuff. You should be very concerned about how you've been treating the queens and the women in our community, and the people that are around you, enabling you to do the things that you do, and shaming on certain law enforcement entities that could put you in check, but they chose not to, so they have to go the civil route and hold the taxpayers of Wayne County accountable for money, for lawsuits that they're gonna have to pay out for your behavior. And with that, this is the Wood Dog. I'm gonna end this segment just keeping it real. And this is the Wood Dog, because keeping it real is the only thing that I know how to do. And I want to thank you for listening.